We good?
Yep.
All right. Good morning. It's November 20th. This is the North Whatcom Fire and Rescue Fire Protection District 21 Board of Commissioners special meeting. I will call to order at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Daylight Savings, whatever you guys are calling it now. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Roll call. I'm Bruce Ansel, remote from Tucson, Arizona.
Me, Matt Rigberg.
Kimberly McMurray.
John Crawford.
Craig Anthony.
Tony Melillo.
Joel Nielsen.
Jason Vanderbeek.
All right. We need to have a volunteer pension board meeting, and the first item is I'll open that meeting. Sorry, and approval of the October 16th, 2025 minutes. Is there a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Chief, we have a pension eligibility verification. Can you enlighten us on that?
Yes, sir. This is for Douglas Stite, who is a District 13 in North Whatcom volunteer. This is actually for a survivor's pension for his spouse. He passed away October 4th, 2025. So this would be authorizing survivor's pension.
Is there a motion to approve the pension eligibility?
Second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Chief, is there anything else for the volunteer pension board?
No, sir.
Then I will close the volunteer pension board meeting and open the public hearing where members of the public are invited to provide comments specific to allowing the district to increase its budget by up to 1% from the highest lawful levy since 1985 and levy certification. Comments will be restricted to these topics. The board will not be responding to questions or challenges. Each participant will be provided a maximum of 5 minutes to comment. Please identify yourself, spell your name, and provide your physical address. And again, this is specific to the 1% levy increase. If we have members of the public there, which I believe we have at least one, there will be another comment opportunity after this public hearing. So, Jenny, is there anyone or is there anyone there that wants to comment on the 1%?
Yeah.
Nope.
Did you
No.
say yes?
No, we have two members that would like to speak, but about general business of the district, not about the 1% increase.
Okay. So if there is no one that wants to speak for that, I will close the public hearing and open the regular or special Board of Commissioners meeting. I think we'll go ahead and do the budget resolution 2025-5, the 1% increase. Chief, can you provide any details on that for us?
Yes, so before you today.
Hang on, sorry, we need a motion first and then we'll discuss it.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for obliging me.
So before you today is a resolution. It's I hate to call it our annual resolution, raising our budget 1%. This falls in line with Washington State statute that limits a taxing district to a 1% increase unless authorized by the voters. As you're all aware, in the past, we've gone to the voters for a levy lid increase and not been successful. So this is our annual 1% increase. In my chief's report, I provided the kind of the math and also what this increase is. So the assessor's office, when they reassessed our district for this next year, our AV went up, our assessed valuation went up 2.14% over the 2025 assessed valuation. So based on our previous year's budget plus what is called the administrative refund amount, we are authorized a tax amount of $7,411,000, $332.07. So split over the AV of the district, that works out to 0.776, so a 78-cent levy rate per $1,000 of assessed valuation for each parcel that pays property tax. What that equates to for a homeowner is I broke it down to $500,000 increments. I can understand that nobody's got a $500,000 house anymore, or very few people do. But I figured that's the easy way to do the math for most people. So that's a $10 increase for every $500,000 of AV that a person has. So if this year you would pay $390 district, last year would have been $380.
The administrative refund amount makes up for no man's land and also the Linden annexation. Is that correct?
Correct. We had two Linden annexations, one that was negligible and one that was a little bit bigger. But it was inside Linden's urban growth area, and based on the urban growth regulations from the state, there was no way to stop it or impede it. And then we have the no man's land chunk up off of H Street Road. Our administrative refund amount this year is $136,000 plus a little bit. And so what that is since we lost that ability to tax those districts, we don't lose, our budget is set on the previous year's budget, not on the previous year's AV. Correct? So this makes up for that loss in budget, what we would have lost in our budget. So so that is why you're seeing our levy rate go from 76 cents to 78 cents. And that's
and answers my question as to who actually was footing the bill for the no man's land, and through the administrative adjustment, we're kind of made whole again from the money that they took from us last month or the month before.
correct. This also usually annually, this is a smaller amount usually. And
Right.
what that is when people apply for exemptions, when someone has an exemption for senior, disability, veteran, something like that, that money is spread throughout all the other taxpayers in the district. So.
And then they adjust your levy rate up or down accordingly.
Correct. Based on what the AV did.
Right. Okay.
Luckily, we don't make it complicated. So that all the taxpayers can understand it.
Right. Does anyone on the board have any questions for the resolution 2025-05?
No.
If not, all in favor of approving the 1% increase, say aye.
Aye.
Did I hear from everyone?
You did.
Thank you. It's unanimous. Next up, Chief. Hang on here. It's hard to see the small screen on my phone, but we'll get there.
Next up is just authorizing me to sign the levy certification sheet, which goes to the county so that the county council can authorize us to authorize the treasurer's office to send us our tax money.
Okay. Do we need a motion for you to sign that, or is this just
Yes.
normal business?
No, you need a motion to authorize that.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you, Chief. So, if I may ask, what is the total dollar amount that we are going to get this year that is in addition to our budget? How much is our budget gonna go up by?
Second, it is in $271,466.43. That is a combination of three things. That is the 1% applied to all properties. That is the valuation of new construction, which is added at the current year's levy rate, and the administrative refund amount. So those three things
wow.
make up that $271,000.
So the 1% is about 70-some thousand.
Correct. Yes.
Wow. All right. I don't know how we get that message out to our customers, but hopefully we'll get some help. All right. I'm going to add to our agenda here public comment before we go into our consent agenda. So if we have members of the public that wish to address the board, this will be the time. And unless there's any objection from the rest of the board, we can allow up to 5 minutes for comment, again, of which we aren't obliged to specifically respond to any questions or concerns at this time. So, do we have a list there, Jenny?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Alberstein?
Hi, everyone. My name is Delia Alberstein. I'm a resident of Simiamu, and I am currently serving on the board of directors for the Simiamu Resort Association and chairing the Safety and Security Committee. And I'm here because it was about this time of year that in 2023 that the board was considering whether or not to put a levy lid lift request on the 2024 ballot. So I am assuming you might be considering that for 2026. And I'm just letting you know that our committee is here to help you with the messaging that you were talking about and communicating to the residents of Semiahmoo, Birch Bay, Custer, and I was 2024 was my first year of being on the board and chairing Safety and Security Committee, and I learned a lot about the challenges you all have in your messaging, in your communication. I learned what you could and could not say, what you could and could not put on your website. So for example, at that time, you could not put on your website that if the levy lid lift passed, that the Station 62 would have been opened. And so it was difficult to get that message out to the community. But now I believe that we have enough interest. We are applying to become a Firewise USA community. And thank you, Chief Vanderveen, for introducing us to the Whatcom Conservation District to enable that to happen. So we will be definitely messaging to the community. We have already begun working with the Birch Bay Safety and Security Committee. So we've begun partnering. And so I'm encouraging you to please consider again putting a levy lid lift request on the 26th ballot, because I believe we can help you get the message out to the residents, improve education, improve voter participation. And we already have a June town hall that we're considering, because May is wildfire preparedness month, as you know. But not all of our residents are back in May, so we're planning on doing it in June. Because one of the requirements of being a firewise community is to have educational sessions. And so that's our target time. So I think that we can help you a lot more in 2026 than we were able to do in 2024. So please consider putting the levy lid lift request on the 26th ballot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know for sure, but.
Ms. Stoffer, do you have a comment? No, you don't have to.
I don't have to, well, I'll just say, Delia, communication is so important. Anyway, my name is Kathy Stoffer and I live in Simeon in Blaine. Ran for fire commissioner twice, lost. What a bummer for me. But anyway, still firmly believe so much in emergency medical response. I am a realtor. North Wacom goes along that, corridor. You guys know what your boundaries are, to the east side as well. And so that's the area that I feel like we really need to communicate with, because you lost by 7% last time. And so that's what we need to make up. And so my team, myself, my son, CJ, and Kelly Brown are really committed to forming some sort of committee to support you guys. I don't have any idea how any of this is going to work. I don't know what all the rules are. So this was just really my first meeting to start getting up to speed, and super excited that you're here, Delia, and this is great. But we are very committed to making this happen. And I've already been mentioning rumblings to the east side of the county about why sometimes, from their perspective, your taxes go up. And so trying to understand resistance to why, I mean, who could not support the fire service? Who could not support emergency medical? But obviously we have people that do. So anyway, we are here to learn and to help and to get started making sure that we pass that levy lift that you're going to propose.
Thank you.
Thank you to both of you for showing up to our meeting and offering your comments. We appreciate it. Anyone else?
No, sir.
Okay. Then we will move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's a tough group. Hang on. So the consent agenda includes the meeting minutes of October 16th, the staff reports, the financial reports, the vouchers, and payroll. Our total revenue for October was $2,659,528.51. And our total expenditures for November were $961,817.10. Employee direct deposit payroll, $418,300.20. Payroll taxes, $87,842.41. Benefits voucher, $265,993.25. Child support voucher, $1,386. Monthly expenditure voucher, $163,258.64. Second set monthly expenditure voucher, $8,503.09, and capital projects facilities, $16,533.51. Comments, questions? The child support voucher, is that something that we can discuss in open public meeting here? Is this something new I haven't seen before, or am I spacing out?
This is based on new direction from DSHS. It has to be split out in a separate voucher. It's been a part of the packet for a long time. And you've been approving this payment. They just want it in a separate voucher now. I was concerned about privacy. So unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. It has to be split out like this based on banking rules.
All right. I just hadn't seen it put that way before, so thank you for clarification. Any other questions or comments for the consent agenda?
Is the financial report part of the consent agenda?
It is.
I have a question then. I see we transferred, I believe, $750,000 from the
Correct.
reserve. Did we transfer money last year?
We did not.
So when was the last time we had to transfer money from the reserve to fund the department?
First time since I've been the chief.
Do you think this will be the only transfer of the year?
Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot.
Anyone else? All in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Commissioner meeting reports. Anyone?
I attended the Blaine City Council meeting last week. There was really nothing that pertained to the district. It appears that they were successful in de-annexing the eastern part of the city. I did note the same kind of vein that the county council let their opinion be known that they weren't supportive of Blaine moving to the Semiahmoo area or Upper Birch Bay. But that didn't come up at the meeting. That's about it.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, you said the Whatcom Council is supportive?
Isn't.
Okay. That's why I didn't think they were. I wonder if something new came up.
Is not. John, in the fire line stuff, I don't know if anyone else knows that Roger Ferris is retiring. Is there from the state commissioners? Do you know anything more about that?
Just read what you read. All I know is he's retiring. So
Chief, have you heard anything at all? Anyone?
I have not. Other than the retirement announcement, I haven't heard anything about who's scheduled or who's likely to take his place.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if it's, well, I guess we'll find out at the next conference in January. Yes, maybe.
Yeah.
In regards to the Blaine UGA swap, I attended the Birch Bay Community Advisory Committee meeting 2 days ago via Zoom. And it appears that the map that was provided to us from the city, they've withdrawn that West Blaine proposal and added another section on the other side of where would it be? Anyway, it's actually connected to the city, so it made a whole lot more sense geographically and neighborly to withdraw that section that had a lot of impediments to the community around them, like stormwater runoff and utility services and roads and impact to county road system, et cetera, et cetera. So if that is true and they move forward, the boundary in Semiahmoo Birch Point remains the same. as it is today with their new proposal. So we'll see what happens if the new council members change their mind or if there's another proposal. But this one looks like, this one was very favorable to the Birch Bay community. So
And that's as of 2 days ago, you said, Bruce?
that's the report we got at our Birch Bay Community Advisory Committee meeting, yes.
Is that encompassing the 600 plus home development?
If you're talking about a Vista, no.
Yes, it's not, okay.
Vista is moving forward. That is within the current boundaries. So expanding the UGA was all of that undeveloped vacant property to the west, kind of even west of Lincoln Road and that whole Birch Point area, excluding all the homes that are on the bluff that need sewer services. But
The Vista community seems to be generating a lot of consternation though in Birch Bay. Has that changed? Is there a softened tone on that?
no, I mean, we did see a map on their proposal. There's still a huge concern about stormwater runoff, and they have added another retention pond. The hope is that with the BB Warm group that they provide a conveyance of all that excessive stormwater runoff so that it doesn't go through Birch Bay Village. That is yet to be determined, but there are maps. There are. It's what is the road at the top of Selder? Is that Bayview, Chief?
Yes.
That goes. I guess
East,
is that
west.
north, east, west, north, south, east, west. Anyway, the top road along Selder where the water tower is, the water tank. That's the bottom of a vista. And there's questions about where all that traffic is going to dump out, and it's all going to dump out onto county roads, and the impacts fees that they are paying certainly isn't going to manage the ongoing upkeep and maintenance. I think they were talking a couple thousand car trips a day addition to what we currently have. And a lot of that will either dump out at Bell Road crossing, and the other will come down Harborview to Birch Bay Linden. So it's a mess.
The discussions that I've been involved in, I'm sorry, I'm going to piggyback some of the things from my perspective that I've done. They've involved the infrastructure concerns for the fire department still with the Vista and any potential UGA growth. So I'm glad that that's not happening. But the water supply is still an issue with that increase. The ability for ingress and egress of emergency vehicles is going to be restricted significantly by the increase in traffic. And then there's a cost concern of how the costs for the storm runoff and the expansion of the water supply and where that's going to go out, who's going to wind up paying for that. And so I was going to ask about that. And you're talking about that kind of plays into that because I don't have those answers.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's still some challenges. Whether some people would ask that they do a complete environmental impact statement, which they have not had to do for that development. I think it's gone through some SEPA review, but the concern is that somehow the city circumvented the environmental impact statement part of that development process.
Chief, have we heard anything about?
I'm not aware of any particulars. I would defer to Deputy Fire Marshal Nielsen and see if you heard anything.
It's still in the early planning phase.
There are
Highly likely it could end up rolled up in a cardboard box somewhere, just like
there are actually maps that show where roads connect and where these ponds are going to be and what this, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 are proposed to be if and when it begins to move forward. But I think the community of Birch Bay is still concerned. Birch Bay Village should be significantly concerned because all that water in 2021, the November atmospheric river came down and flooded a portion of Birch Bay Village because there isn't a way to handle that much water coming down the hill. And that would only be worse, right? With roads paved and houses and downspouts and roofs and anyway.
One of the figures I saw was almost $10 million in just retention development. That's not accounting for barely anything of the total costs, and people are concerned about how that would be, spread out to the community. So I know that doesn't really directly involve us, but there's a lot of numbers being thrown about right now.
Yeah. I mean, traffic and stormwater are probably the biggest issues that are going to, impact us. Call volume. I don't know, Chief, what's your opinion? Usually newer developments don't significantly increase our call volume out of the chute. That's been my experience.
No.
Oftentimes, the newer developments are actually better construction. They're a different, I don't know what the home price value up there is, but it doesn't seem to attract unhealthy people per se, most new developments, but anyway, it's still going to impact roads and congestion and intersections and areas where we need to get through to maybe not get to their neighborhood, but all the rest of the neighborhoods. Anything else? Hang on here. Any other reports? I think
I did.
pardon me.
I did.
Okay.
Dan and I had a lot of fun at the trick or treat on the berm, or not the berm. Our people are so much fun and they do a great job, and it was a great connection with the community, I felt. We also attended a resilience under pressure, talking about fire service men, women, and couples, which there were several people from our department that were there, but it was a really good workshop. I have also been invited to attend the Red Cross Heroes Luncheon in Tulalip in December, and want to publicly thank our local for making a donation to that. And we also are looking forward to being a part of the Thanksgiving baskets distributions this week.
Very good. Anyone else? Okay, with next item is the local 106 report. Do we have a rep from 106?
Yeah, so our union body voted on the contract. They're pretty supportive of what we've been able to negotiate with. We just did Operation Warm yesterday at Central Elementary, so we were able to provide coats to an entire elementary school. And we're hoping to do 1 to 2 more additional schools, so still fundraising to buy more coats for that. We donated to the Red Cross Hero Luncheon. About that. The Benevolent Fund scholarships for high school students are open. There's a couple criteria they have to meet if they want to apply for those, but anybody with a family member in the IFF can apply for the scholarship. The turkey baskets are coming up on the 25th. Haley Erlinger has put together a food drive that will be starting on December 1st. So that's working with all of the other fire departments and local to fundraise food and other items for needy people in the county. And then we will be participating in Project Santa with the law enforcement officers of Whatcom County on December 6th. So that's taking kids to go buy presents for themselves. And then they get a picture with Santa and get their presents wrapped up and have something to open on Christmas.
Very nice. Thank you for all of your support of these community projects. I will also be home in time to help out with the Thanksgiving baskets. So, Deputy Fire Marshal report.
About the only thing I had was already mentioned the de-annexing of East Blaine. So if it went through and was successful, would have been nearly 700 single-family residents that will now not be built, and it was at the far east end of the city of Blaine. So that's will reduce the travel distance, to those calls that would have, potential calls in the future. As far as moving the boundaries to a new location, I don't know what the city's planning for that yet. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Unfinished business, Birch Bay Station 63. I think since our last meeting, Chief Ralston and Chief Vanderveen and I met with the representatives, and there were 5 or 6 other subcontractor people there looking at all the utilities and construction and existing structure and potential ideas of what could be done there, and then are working on 3 different cost projections, Chief? Is that?
Yes. Yeah. What we did was we met out there with I'll call them all the different disciplines, building disciplines, trades, and did a walk through the building, looked at the structure, looked at the infrastructure, and they're going to put together packages for a remodel of the existing structure, we'll call it tearing off the face of the building, so where the current quarters are, and either building or putting a modular to replace what the firefighters are currently living in. And the third option is a complete tear down. There's what I heard from them was some concerns mostly about seismic reinforcing of the apparatus bay. But no, they didn't give any indication as to which way they're leaning or not. It just, some of their questions led me to believe that a single layer brick structure may not be the most stout thing to survive any sort of seismic event. Chief Ralston, Liz Bronder representing the labor group, and myself are meeting next week on the 25th, unfortunately on Turkey Basket Day, down at Carletti, to start going through some of the particulars about the build. How many rooms, kitchen size, kitchen space, public meeting space, kind of look at what are the requirements from the state and the feds as far as health and safety, what do we want to see in a building, and then meld that together with what the subs come up with. So that's the next phase of the project. So.
And Chief, one of the things that I took home from this is a total tear down and start over then gets us into a whole nother layer of permitting. I think it's once you exceed 10,000 square feet of either remodel or adjustments, it triggers another layer of scrutiny. And I think some of us were saying, well, let's try to come in below that number.
I think
5. I don't think it's 10, I think it's 5. I may be wrong.
Maybe for, I heard 10 from the gentleman that was representing that phase of the project.
Whatever it is, I can't remember between 5 or 10. The fear is that whatever we have to do triggers a retention pond, a runoff, an impervious surface. Once we start getting into that on a 2-acre site, we are looking at extreme difficulty in fitting all the pieces that we need into our current site. I know I sometimes don't talk very fancy, but that's nightmare fuel for me. Like, I don't know any other way to put it, because that we've got so much impervious, we are maxed on impervious surface at that location.
Yeah.
So
I'm-
where do we want to dig a giant pit?
Well, somewhere in the back of everyone's mind then has to be selling that property and moving.
If it's a complete tear down, that's going to be I can't imagine that wouldn't be their suggestion.
Right. That's the only thing that seems to make sense. Okay.
So,
Anyway, okay. Any other questions about that? So you guys are meeting on the 25th to start looking at some more particulars.
yes.
And will that then determine what comes back to the board for recommendation, or where does that
Yes.
process? Okay.
Yeah, that they'll meld that with, like I said, with requirements and what they can do with what we've got, and then that'll determine what the feasibility study shows in the end. Or it will be part of it.
All right. Anything else from anyone? Next item is district boundaries, no man's land. Where are we with that?
Haven't made a lot of progress on that, but we are meeting. I'm meeting with the Whatcom County assessor, Rebecca Scar, the first week in December. Jessica and I are going to meet with her the first week in December and go over how do we tackle this project in the most financially conservative way.
All right, and the administrative adjustment resolved my concern about who was paying the bill on that property.
Yes, sir.
It's now been spread amongst the remaining property owners in our district.
And we also contacted the auditor's office to get their take on it. Were we gifting public funds? Were we, if we're maintaining response to an area that's not paying taxes, does that cause any legal problems? And the answer was resoundingly no. That gifting of public funds is when an agency gives something to another agency or tries to, it's more that is not a gifting of public funds. That's an administrative error. That's, as long as you're working on a correction, they're okay with it. If it goes on for 10 years or more, they might have a problem with it. But at this time, there's no concern. So we're clear with the auditor as well.
10 years from the time you're made aware of it.
Well, she didn't say 10 years, but yeah, as long as you're making progress and working towards a resolution, they can see that, you're trying to solve the problem.
Yep. Excellent. All right. Good luck. Resolution 2011-14 regarding performance goals and annual report. Who's gonna go? Commissioner Anthony, are you involved in this one, or Chief, or who's leading?
I got a question toward the end, but I look forward to the chief's explanation.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put Chief Malilo on the spot a little bit to maybe fill in the cracks where we've had a lot of good discussion about this over the last week or two, and
I'll do my best.
Yeah, if I fumble, if you could. So before you have a response time analysis report. We've talked about it recently, and the board is aware of resolution. Let me get there. let's see, what is it? 2011-14, which set response goals for the district. That was actually the second resolution in the district's history. The first one, the response time was essentially set at 90%. After not meeting that for a number of years, the district pulled it back to 80%. So Commissioner Anthony has been working with me very gently to help us understand and how to put together a report like this, and from a former chief's perspective has imparted why it's so important to continually look at these numbers. I'll be honest, we've kind of let this go by the wayside for a number of years. So looking at this, it's pretty striking, but there's some really interesting on the heels of public comment about levy lid lift and some other things. There's some really interesting things I'd like to point out. So overall, we are currently responding within our 10-minute goal 56.7% of the time. Not great overall. And so we are failing our own, we're not meeting our own goal. You can see our response time is an average of 9 minutes and 55 seconds, and district-wide. And then below that, you can see performance by station, where what station, each of the 3 stations within Fire District 21, what they're meeting, what their percentage is for meeting that goal. It was interesting to me that Station 69 is actually the highest of the 3. That number was kind of blew me away a little bit. Below that, you've got performance by zones. So this is each what we call fire blocks or fire zone. And we tried to put a geographic marker on that so you could have an idea of where that zone is.
Chief, can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yes.
Is this a document that I don't have
I emailed it to you
today or?
today,
Okay.
just before the meeting. Sorry.
Okay, I will try to find it here. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Nope. I should have checked with you before I started.
Nope, that's okay. I got it now. Thank you very much.
Okay. So you can see the performance by zones. And like I said, we put a geographical marker on there, or we try to describe the area as best we could. Do you have one, Jen? Okay. Yep. Okay. So what the really interesting things that I would like to point out is that if you look at the geographical areas where we have staffed stations, we're meeting the goal. Blaine, 82% of the time, they're meeting the goal. Birch Bay, they're right at 80%. Station 69, now these, around Station 69, the fire zones are built smaller. We did that about 6 years ago, because of the auto aid agreement with Bellingham. We used some Bellingham computing power. They had enough staff to really break down Station 69's zones into smaller areas and look at, and their 69 is actually doing really well. They are 87, 80, 88% of the time they're meeting their goal. Even up into the Weiser Lake area, 72%. Not fantastic, but they're close. Where we fall short is the areas that we're not staffed in. Semiahmoo, 28%. Not great. Haney Road, the area west of Linden. So that would be like Hannigan Road, Van Dyke, 14%. Station 68. So the Delta area might be a better way to describe that. 21%. These are all areas that don't have staff stations. The other piece is that we looked at the staff stations, and There's Blaine, 82%, like I said. Birch Bay, 80%. 69, you're seeing 87, 88%. What we don't have the data, and Chief Molilo has, using fancy data collecting words, asked our records management system if they will build a report. What we don't know is we believe these percentages are low because of call concurrency. So Blaine's not meeting its mark because it's responding to calls in Birch Bay, right? You're seeing.
Which then drives up the response time for.
Correct. For everybody else. Yep. We think we can see it by looking at basically heat maps and things like that, but we don't have the actual data numbers that will show, okay, what percentage of the time are these, what is this, are concurrent calls bringing our response time down, our response time goal down in these areas where we have first due units.
Wouldn't that effect be across the board then, though?
It will. But
to me, that doesn't explain the disparity between 82% and 28%.
Well, it's time and distance.
Understood. It's not that. Some of these don't have that great of a distance between them, though.
But if Blaine is responding to Semiahmoo, which on an unofficial, if I watch CAD, it's inevitable. If Birch Bay gets a call, the next call is coming in Semiahmoo. It's just the way Murphy's Law works. It's inevitable.
Again, the way the numbers are generated isn't by station response area. It's by how long did it take the first unit to arrive.
Correct.
So if Birch Bay is transporting and there's a medical call in the villages, the engine's coming from Blaine, or the aid unit's coming from Blaine. And so the time it took Blaine to get there is what's reflected for that particular call. So it's all from the time, the way this information is generated. It's all from the eye of the person needing the help. How long did it take for somebody to come through my front door? It doesn't care where they came from. Frankly, I don't care what kind of uniform they have. And having dealt with this information, I've learned a lot that probably not significantly, but the role that our battalion chiefs play, I didn't quite understand as well as I do now. Because the battalion chiefs show up, they have their AED, they're going to be able to help whoever needs help. And so frankly, those on an 8 call, that battalion chief coming through the front door, as far as I'm concerned, anymore counts. And I think as we move forward analyzing future years, we need to build into our system that it's just more than the responding unit, that the battalion chief gets there, it counts, makes a difference in the outcome to the patient. But the concurrence, we've all of us that live here and drive by Station 63 and every once in a while gets a little confused when we see a concurrence percentage. We all know in our heart that we're impacted by calls occurring at the same time. When Birch Bay and Blaine, look at how many calls Birch Bay and Blaine have. Whenever that call occurs, and let's say it's an average of an hour, that's an hour that there's an extended response time. So I'll yield back, not all of the remainder of my time, but a good portion.
So our average time out of service when looking at unit hour utilization is it's 90 minutes. When we're going out, when the crews are going out on these calls. So it gets back to, we need additional resources on the ground in order to respond to these calls. It's going to reduce our response time. And it seems simple, but it's a complicated sell to the public. It's expensive, but what are you willing to pay for it when you're the one that calls 911? So
I assume
Chief.
this information will be shared with our two guest public speakers today, and perhaps they can incorporate into their messaging.
I gave it to one already, and I will make sure that the second has one before she leaves.
Thank you.
And there's no way that this information can take into account the projected growth of, at least 700 homes.
This is a snapshot from last
Yeah.
year.
So this same snapshot a year from now, absent any growth within our department, is going to be remarkably bleak.
And having worked on the budget, there will be no growth in the department this year.
Yeah.
Chief, just one more observation.
Yes, sir.
We're focusing on the aid calls. This particular resolution also set the goal for fire response for what a full alarm would be. I forget, is it 10 or 11 folks?
It's 15, actually.
So the district set a goal below the national standard. We set a goal. So for fire responses, what percentage of the time do you think we achieve the goal we set for a fire? My house is on fire within so many minutes. So many folks are supposed to be there to help.
I'm going to say north of Pull Road on the east side, less than 5%. And I say that in front of the union, knowing that we're calling out a safety issue right there. We rarely get 12 to 14 people on a structure fire within the appropriate time that either the NFPA or the resolution call out.
My observation on these numbers are try to step back a bit and realize the staffing level that we have now. It just isn't a Semiahmoo issue. When we see both 61 and 63 at the hospital, there's nobody here. Or the people to the east of 5 that have extended response times. Some of those response times are being impacted because station 61 to 63 are already busy and 69 is on its way. So it's a much larger issue than just a Semiahmoo 28%.
And on the east side, we have an auto aid agreement with the city of Linden, but they're in the same boat, if not a little bit worse than we are when it comes to call volume and concurrency. It is not uncommon to see both their aid cars and aid 69 or aid 63 going into the city of Linden to handle, 3 separate incidents at one time.
I guess my final observation is we're in a very different environment here than in the broader county or the broader state, I would imagine. We can't have mutual aid with Canada, and we can't have mutual aid with the Pacific Ocean. So 2 out of the 4 sides, we're just out of luck.
And we're a predominantly rural agricultural area. We don't have heavy industry. We can't look at a fire benefit charge, those kind of things. We are in a difficult position. We need more staffing for safety and for response. And we need additional units on the ground in order to handle the capacity that we have. 6,000 calls may not look like a lot, but when you spread it over 200 square miles, and that unit hour utilization, that 90 minutes of out of service time for each call, for kind of on average, that takes a toll on the responding units and who's there when someone calls 911.
I'm really sorry that I keep getting wrapped up here. But as I move around my community, and for better or worse, people seem to know what I do. The number of people that tell me, geez, they live over 5 miles away, which is the insurance criteria. I even get on my insurance, homeowner's insurance now. It even tells me how far away I am from a fire station. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And folks in Simiyamu, that are more than 5 miles away from Station 63 or 61 is kind of unique. They're both the same distance. Their insurance has seen a tremendous jump. It's almost, you look at them, they go, please, I'd rather, instead of giving my insurance company an extra $1,000, can I just give you 500 now? What can we do for insurance? And then the other comment that I get, that both insurance and is the folks that are worried about a spouse or someone else in the family about the response time for transports. They look at 62, and I look at it from standpoint of the insurance and fire response. I'm amazed the number of folks that just want to have somebody there to come for medical aid. So that just goes to my age and my background of being more fire than medical. I really am trying to yield the remainder of my time.
There's a couple of points there too that I think, and especially for context for folks who don't work in this industry, that I think is important to know. And some of this is rehashed, but if you just picture driving from Blaine to St. Joe's Hospital and back, what is that time just driving in your car back and forth? That's not going to be much less than the ambulance driving from Birch Bay or from Blaine. That's a pretty significant chunk of time just to make that drive. One of the other things that happens with the data that I think is interesting, that we haven't dug into yet, but the data exists, is the component of distance that we've been discussing. So we look at the number and we say, okay, in this zone, we've met 80% of the time, but we don't know why we're failing 20% of the time, because we don't look at the data in that direction. Not necessarily important when you're meeting your goal, but it is important when you're definitely not meeting your goal. You start digging into that number, and I think there's some components like the distance and also the acuity of the call that have to come into play. We don't drive code red and lights and sirens blazing to every single call, but these numbers don't take that into account. The distance for 61 going to Semiahmoo, we're not taking that into account. We've kind of talked about those things. Where this also plays a factor, though, that the commissioner hit on, is I believe there's a correlation between the distance that apparatus has to drive to reach the call. And we're going to see that also with the insurance numbers. Because outside of 5 miles, I bring it back to the same thing as driving from Blaine to the hospital and back. If 61 has to drive almost to Linden, that's almost a 20 plus minute drive just on itself, even if you're driving lights and sirens. That changes the numbers. I like this because we can dig into it. That, like I said, the numbers exist. We just need to have the data show us that stuff. The last thing that I'll say too, the data, I believe, is going to show us that the stations are not in the greatest of spots. Some of the unstaffed stations, Chief and I have been talking about this quite a bit. The history of the fire service in many areas, Whatcom County being one of them, is that a lot of these stations started as a volunteer department that was part of their community. And where the station is, the station is. So for an example, once you go out of Blaine and you go east to Linden, there's a fire station there, but it's a long way before you get to another station that we own that we don't have staff at. That's an enormous chunk of our area that we just don't have a station that we have staffing at. When 69 was put in place, it worked well for the Laurel community, but does it work well for the folks who live now 10 or 15 minutes north of there where we don't have a station? It doesn't. So I think that plays into this as well, that we're staffing the stations. We're seeing we're successful at the stations that we have staffed. We would be more successful in some of those areas if we had a station in that place or we staffed stations in those places. Semiahmoo being the most obvious one, in my opinion also. Obviously with 62 staff, that's probably going to be running concurrent calls into Birch Bay and Blaine. That's understandable. But when that station is staffed, we will see reduced times, I think, across the board.
So
All
to
right.
go to the chairman's, Bruce's question is, how does this information get out to the community?
So part of that resolution calls out an annual report, and that would go on our website. And Jenny has been encouraging me to write some more articles for the responder. So for our magazine that goes out, or our newsletter that goes out monthly. And this is certainly a topic that needs to go in there. I think that we have someone from the Semiahmoo Residents Association here who's on the safety committee that is probably really interested in that low percentage number. And I would expect to get some phone calls over the next month or so from some concerned residents. Why are you below 30% in my neighborhood? That's how the word gets out.
Going forward, about when do you think we'll see this report? Annually, in March or April, or?
I think that, I think that we should have it by the end of Q1 of each year, right? That gives us time to analyze the data, put together a report, and put something out. So I would say March is at the March board meeting, you should expect an annual response time.
Thank you.
Report, yeah.
There's other components too, the less tangible, but still tangible. If we're running these concurrent calls and we're miling out vehicles, we're putting more wear and tear on equipment, which increases costs as well. So that's something to look at, the cost benefit, getting more money, putting it into equipment.
Right.
It all kind of falls into that same pot.
It trickles over to everything. It trickles over to six calls in an urban or suburban area like Bellingham is 6 calls out of a firefighter's day. 6 calls at 90 minutes a pop that's a lot more wear and tear on our humans.
Yeah.
Right? They're missing more meals. They're missing more sleep. They're all those things are affected, both tangible and intangible. So
there's one other component too that just popped into my mind, that I think that the discussion also included that the numbers are looking at anybody arriving. So that includes a Ferndale or a Linden or a Bellingham. And the thing that's concerning to me is that I feel like we should also be aware of the number of calls where we are not responding, but we're still getting the benefit in meeting that response time. Because while we can lean on our partners, it may falsify the numbers and show us false capacity if we're leaning on, say, 842 or one of the 8 units coming out of Ferndale that's actually artificially driving that number up and looking like we're more capable than we actually are.
Does this data here does it include those other, is it any first arriving unit, or is it just our first arriving unit?
just a first arriving unit.
Okay, so it could be Ferndale.
It goes to a point that kind of breaks our model, but to be very frank, sometimes I think maybe I'd be better off if 63 didn't have an 8 car. at least I'd have somebody with all the EMS equipment on the engine coming out to help the community, not both be driving the ambulance, essentially, the aid car, to the hospital. That's a very different model than we have, but being in the quote ambulance business impacts the availability of the first responding units. So I just want to let everyone know I'm kind of predisposed about how important it is to get somebody through the front door, much more so than who's going to transport them. Because if we call in from my home and my wife explains that I'm showing symptoms of having a stroke, the aid car, the medical unit from Ferndale's on its way as well at 63. So as a community, we might have been better off that the transport's being taken by Ferndale. Just thinking out loud, there's a lot of things involved, but when we add another aid car to Simiyamu, what impact does that have? And I don't know the answer to it, but it's just how our system works. Being a EMS agency that just happens to go to fires every once in a while.
Right.
And I also am a little bit cautious with that because as we saw, through the EMS system, we got a true up of $250,000 or something.
Yes.
We quote, make a lot of money through the EMS system. So your nose in your face becomes an issue with,
Right.
it starts sticking.
Well, and you bring, you talked about if there was just an engine at 63. When I hear that, I don't think of stripping away the aid car. What I think of is adding 2 additional personnel. So you've got the aid car and the engine staffed.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're just got to find that money tree.
We're done, Bruce. We're done.
Are you guys done? All right. Thank you everyone for your comments. Obviously, most of this revolves around getting more money so that we can get more resources. My only concern with running engines on all the calls is we're wearing out the engines as it is. If we start running the engines on every call, the front ends are gonna fall out of them. So it's all interrelated. Overtime. What do we have here, Chief?
I believe this was you had a question about overtime or wanted to kind of look at overtime.
I'm going to make the recommendation that we boot this.
Good.
I think that we've hit on a couple of big topics that are going to require some work.
Okay.
I do think it's important to do a deep dive into the overtime usage and management, but I don't think this is the meeting for it.
In your board packet, there is an overtime analysis sheet. And for the first, we did add at the beginning of this year, instead of just overtime, now we put overtime categories in. So that's going to help us understand better our overtime usage. So just wanted to.
Yeah, and it all goes back to the budgeting.
Yep.
And we did come under again this month from our projection.
Correct. Yes.
So we are heading in the right direction. All right, hang on. Get back to. All right, we're in need of an executive session, and this is for collective bargaining. So we will then come back with new business after our executive session. And I expect that there will be action after this executive session. So per RCW 42.30.140 subsection 4, subsection A, collective bargaining sessions with employee organizations, including contract negotiations, grievance meetings, discussions relating to the interpretation or application of a labor agreement or that portion of a meeting during which the governing body is planning or adopting the strategy or position to be taken by the governing body. During the course of any collective bargaining, professional negotiations, or grievance or mediation proceedings, or reviewing the proposals made in the negotiations or proceedings while in progress. My expectation is that we have all seen the track changes on the collective bargaining agreement that was ratified by the bargaining unit, and it is now up to the board to review, ask questions, comment, etc., and then determine if the board is in favor of this contract proposal. So, Chief, how much time do you think we need here?
5-10 minutes. Not
Okay.
long, unless any of the commissioners have. Nope.
I'm going to
let's think
say
about-
15 because we always go longer than we predict.
There you go.
All right. So it is now 12:46. Do we need to take a break somewhere and then come back to executive
quick.
session?
Yes, we need to take a break.
All right. So if we can stop the recording, and then the executive session will include and the board.
Okay.
We are reconvening after executive session, and our next order of business is under new business. It's the 2026 through 28 collective bargaining agreement, and we've had an opportunity to review that. Appreciate all the time and effort that our staff and the local bargaining team spent on this. We know that it was ratified by the membership several weeks ago now. Has it been?
Yes.
And so now it's up to our board to approve the agreement that was worked on, or disapprove, however you feel. So I am going to ask individually your vote for the 2026 through 28 collective bargaining agreement. Commissioner Anthony,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawford,
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner Rigberg,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. So the bargaining agreement is ratified by the board unanimously. Is our union membership still out there?
We're on a call. Actually, there's one here. He's smiling.
Is Liz still out there?
Rob Mulroney says thanks and gives a thumbs up.
Okay, thanks Rob for being there.
Well said.
Okay, that was an interesting collective bargaining under dire financial circumstances, but appreciate the cooperation that was given by labor on that. Resolution 2025-06, cancellation of warrant. It's my understanding that somebody's address changed and they never got the check. Is that where we're at?
Correct. No, actually, sorry. I got distracted. We need to pull this resolution. We got a phone call from the vendor yesterday that they'd received payment. So this resolution is no longer needed.
So we're going to cancel the cancellation.
Cancel the cancellation. Yes, sir.
Fair enough. All right, that was easy. 2026 budget. I know that's a big chunk. I know we kind of know preliminary numbers for revenue. I know you're working on expenditures. Now that the contract has been ratified, that then plays into this, as well as current medical and insurance costs, blah, 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 blah. What would you like to do, Chief?
I would love to meet again in a study session so that we don't create an enormous administrative project for Jenny to have to do a bunch of minutes.
Right.
That's what I would like to do. Whether we can actually pull that off, I don't know. I think we're going to need, because of where we're at with revenue, just the continued needs. I would really like to be able to sit down and, as much as you hate it, go page by page through the budget and show you where we're at and show you where we made some savings, so that you guys have a really good understanding of why we're spending what we're spending.
When are you wanting to get that done?
Got to do it in early December.
Soon, yeah.
Yeah.
So if the board members can look at your calendars and see, are there dates that are off limits, Chief?
No, I work 24/7, so you go ahead and pick a date. Jenny works Monday through Friday, and we prefer morning meetings over afternoon.
December 9th or 10th.
I entertain our open here.
What,
December 9th or 10th would work for.
looking at 2 hours?
2 to 3.
I would say 2 to 3 would be.
And can be done in person or Zoom.
Oh, if it can be done by Zoom, then I'm much more available. On
Right.
either of those days then.
I mean, it's just a matter of getting the information and asking questions and understanding where we're at. So, Commissioner
Tuesday the
Anthony,
9th.
I'm sorry.
Tuesday the 9th looks like the best day.
The 9th. So we want to say 9 a.m. at 61.
I'm sure this is open. I was worried you don't have.
They're saying, yeah.
I do, but not till after.
No. Well, then
No, it'll be after.
we're good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Tuesday the 9th at 9 a.m. here at Station 61.
I'll have to be Zoom.
That's
I'll be
fine.
late.
Oh, yeah, you. I can catch you up. on
Commissioner
anything you
Anthony,
guys-
that work for you?
Yes, sir.
Crawford?
I'll be late.
Okay. Kimberly, you're good?
Can we move it to accommodate John so he doesn't have to be late?
Say 10 o'clock.
No, that's fine. I'll run about a half hour late. It's no big deal.
It'll take us that long to get coffee and get sat down anyway.
Exactly.
Oh, there's no coffee.
I just bought the pods. There's plenty. All right, that works. Thank you.
Okay, we're good. I think that's gonna be better than trying to hash something out here right now. Especially since probably not all the numbers are available, correct? Anything else on that? I mean, before we get off the budget issue, is there anything specific that you want the chief to address for your own personal knowledge or concern? So if he can have time to prep any of that, or how about if you don't have it today, that you get it to him in the next couple of days?
Bruce, would the budget session, the study session be appropriate also to maybe review the overtime as
Sure.
well? Because it's definitely tied into it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can take that off the agenda for the next meeting and put it on budget session.
I mean, it's something that certainly has to roll into the budget, so if that's your thought, I mean, like, are we spending too much, not enough? Where does it go? How do we keep a handle on it? Is that where we're at?
Yes.
Chief, does that sound okay to you?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Anthony, do you have anything specifically?
My one question will always be is, how much are we short from revenue? So I'm sure that's gonna come out.
Yep. John,
I'm good.
Kimberly?
I just like when we receive the budget versus actual, especially since we're this far into the year. It's hopeful. My visual.
So if we can get actual through November,
Yep.
Chief,
We can do that.
so that we can see where we're at. All right. Anything else under new business? Any correspondence? Somehow I lost my screen. Hang on. All right, next meeting is scheduled for the 18th.
If we,
Is that,
Commissioner
go ahead,
Ansel, could we go back to correspondence just real quick?
please, go ahead.
So you all saw that we got 2 letters from the GE, two pieces of mail from GEMT. One saying we owed $15,000, and the other one saying that we are getting a check for $749,000. We had our meeting yesterday about the 2025 GEMT calculations that we're sending in. The way that these are done is we get an estimated, each year when we send in our GEMT funds. So like this year we budgeted 300 and some odd $1,000 in revenue from GEMT. Yet we're getting 750. How does that work? The GEMT calculations are done based on a 50% reimbursement rate. So GEMT has to do with Medicare. And inside Medicare, I'm still trying to understand how all this works, but there are different tiers of Medicare reimbursement based on factors that I don't quite understand. When they do the GEMT calculations, they look at all the infrastructure that we provide to be able to do Medicare transports. They come up with a number that the actual cost, as opposed to just what does it cost to have 3 firefighters in the rig plus gas to get back and forth. They come up with the infrastructure cost. What does it cost to keep the lights on? What are all these things? Fuel,
Insurance.
Any cost center that affects medical transport. Then they apply that they do this big calculation. They apply it to these formulas, and what we get is an estimate. So again, yesterday we got an estimate of $300,000 roughly that we'll be getting next year for GEMT funds. Like I said, there's about 6 different tiers of Medicare that pay out at different levels. I don't understand how they decide what level each transport is. They pick 50%. It's the most conservative. Most of our transports are actually reimbursed at closer to 90%. And that's why we're seeing that's why we get an estimate of $300,000 and we get a return of $740,000, $750,000. I'm still trying to understand. The word I still attach to it is scheme. I think someone in DC will figure it out someday, but that's how this program works, and that's why you saw us budget for $300 and some odd thousand, yet we get this bolus back. As far as the credits that we owe later on, there's always multiple audits going on in the background. And just like medical billing can take time to catch up, most of our insurance companies, they handle things within 90 days and it's all done. You add the federal government to that with a program like Medicare, and it can take years to settle things up. So that's why we keep we'll get a $7,000 check for 4 years ago. And then we get told, but 2 years ago, you owe us $15K. It's going through multiple audits. Unfortunately, we don't have the staff or the capacity to be able to audit what they're telling us. We just have to trust it. We're part of this program. The program gets audited by a third party. That's my best explanation for how this revenue comes in from the GEMT and how sometimes we have to pay money back. So I just wanted to clarify that because, we had competing correspondence from GEMT in one board packet.
But it was a net income to us.
Yes, no, it was good, but still, it was pulling my hair out trying to figure out.
15 if I get 750.
So,
any questions on that? Okay, board meeting on the 18th. Everyone's good. 10:30, Station 61. And that's a public hearing because we will have a budget to approve, yes?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else before we adjourn? Oh, items for next meeting. Jenny, you got a list started?
The 2026 budget approval, Birch Bay Station 63, District boundaries, no man's land.
Do we need,
2026 meeting schedule draft,
okay,
and then board elections and representatives in January.
okay. The no man's land, chief, I mean, can we just pull that until you have something to report?
Sure.
Okay.
Anyone else? Kimberly's not kicking me under the table. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Jenny, I can sign, I get home late Saturday. I can come in Monday and sign if that works.
Yes, that will work.
So moved, Bruce.
All right. I think I heard a second out there somewhere. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. It's 12:30 your time. It's past my lunch here.